the truth is, Rabotai, everything that I just said is relevant to everybody. But people still have to get some more support to understand how it's relevant to them. So we have to go to the Midrash. We have to go to the Midrash to see what the Midrash says, the Midrash Rabbah. The Midrash Rabbah, in Parashat Kedoshim, says that in a Siman Kaf Dalet, 24. Siman Kaf Dalet. Says, the verse of ours says, you shall be holy, for I am holy. For holy am I, Hashem your God. A person may think that this is referring to where God is commanding Am Yisrael to be holy as if they could be holy like Hashem. Meaning that you could be like me. But Torah says, no. Doesn't mean that you could be holy like Hashem. That's why it says, holy am I, meaning that Hashem is telling us, you can be holy, I am holy, you can't be holy like me, no one can be holy like me, but you can do things in order to emulate my behavior. Where do we learn this from? He says we learn this from the pasuk that Paro talks to Yosef HaTzadik. Where Paro says, Vayomer Paro el Yosef, Ani Paro. Paro says to Yosef, I am Paro. Meaning that you would think that Paro is telling Yosef that you're going to be supreme authority like me, but the Torah says no. He says, I am Paro, meaning that my greatness is above your greatness. That you'll have, authority, but up to a point. So Hashem says, you can be holy, but up to a point. Meaning, you can never be like me. So, here we see that holiness is obviously something that Kadosh Baruch Hu wants from us. But at the same token, He's telling us we could be holy like Him. How can we be holy like Him if holiness is only referring to morality, forbidden relations, even permitting or not permitting certain things to a limit, even if they're permissible? Like, how is this relevant to Hashem B'chlal? Morality is not relevant to Hashem. Even more so, as far as eating or not eating, what's allowed, what's not allowed, limitations, that's not relevant to Hashem. So comes Rabbi Shimon Shkop, one of the Gedolei Hador before the Holocaust. In his Sefer, I don't know if they have this in English, but it's a extraordinary Sefer in B'siyat Dishmaya. You can get a copy of this particular part in English, but I don't know if the entire Sefer is in English. In his Sefer, Sharei Yosher, in his Akdama, in his, the introduction, for the sake of time, I'm just going to mention the English parts. Rabbi Shimon Shkop, he was one of the Gedolei Hador right before the Holocaust, and he says the following. Where the Midrash says that to be holy, you have to be removed. Removed from unnecessary indulgence in physical pleasures, as the Ramban famously says. Now, it might be thought that God is commanding Am Yisrael that you shall be holy like me, and therefore the Torah says that my holiness is above your holiness. Now, this line of reasoning implies that holiness is a trait that we share with God, albeit on a smaller scale. But if holiness begins and ends with abstinence, how can we ascribe that quality to our Creator, who has no base desire from which to abstain? Everything we just said until this point. So the sages teach us that this is not to equate abstinence with holiness, but merely to say that abstinence is a practical expression of this trait, where the essence of holiness is selflessness. Meaning that a person is not just abstaining from a certain act, but rather turning all of his actions into things that have to do with benefiting others. even if it's his own pleasures. Now Rabbi Nachman Breslev, alav shalom, also discussed this. In the Likutei Maharan Tanina, he says that there are many heretical books that have been disseminated in the world that will prevent people from approaching God, such as, let's say, the book of Yerovam ben Nevat, who told Am Yisrael he gave them 2 golden calves. Rabbi Nachman Breslev says this sounds like shtuyot, sounds like ridiculous. Like, why would anybody follow this? Obviously, he puts together some books that had a lot of wisdom in them, that were very believable, and people fell because of them. Meaning that, don't think that just because somebody else fell for something that you don't even see being relevant to you, it's not really relevant to you. Further, when it comes to the issues like what we're talking about here as far as Kedusha and being holy, says each individual must guard his personal Mashiachness, where according to each individual's sanctity and purity, so does one possess an aspect of Mashiachness. And one must take care not to damage one's personal Mashiachness. What is this Mashiachness? Don't start thinking that everyone here is Mashiach. I have at least 3 or 4 people telling me they're Mashiach a day. Rabbi Nachman Breslev says, everyone has a little spark of Mashiach in them. Everyone has something. But that spark is dependent on holiness, on Kedusha. And he says you could ruin that spark, that holy spark, that extraordinary spark, just like that. How can you ruin it? You need it in order to elevate yourself to the highest level, to serve Hashem, to do everything good, to be happy, to be successful, to get to heaven. You need this thing. But you can ruin it in 1 second. How? He says this, damaging this one's Mashiachness, is done by sexual immorality. But what kind of sexual immorality? Is it the one that we're talking about? The incest, the brother, the sister, the mother, all the stuff that's not relevant to us? Says Rabbi Nachman Breslev, no, doesn't have to go that far. Not even close to that, even. What is it? This is because the Mashiach is represented by the nostrils, as it says in the book of Lamentations, Echa, that the spirit of our nostrils, the Mashiach of God, Lamentations 4:20. And sexual immorality is connected with the nostrils. As it says in the 10 Commandments, in the Exodus chapter 20 verse 13, one of the commandments is what? Lo tin'af. Lo tin'af typically is translated as don't be an adulterer. But Rabbi Nachman Breslev brings the same midrash we just brought. He says, no, it's not just don't be an adulterer. Like you think, be an adulterer by being with somebody's wife, like the Torah is talking about, don't do. No. Lo tin'af also means don't give pleasure to your nose, your af. Smelling another woman, she passed by you. Some woman that's not your wife, she passed by you, she has 18 pounds of perfume on her. You enjoy that? In Shemaim, they're calling you an adulterer. You decided to leave your house with 30 pounds of perfume because you want Steve and Jose and Shlomo and David to smell you while you walk down the aisles in the supermarket. You are Machtia Rabim. You cause people to sin. Why? They smell you, they enjoy it, they think thoughts. You are an adulterer. And you have ruined the spark of Mashiach that's within you. So here we're seeing that the extremes that are mentioned in the Torah of incest and so on, that's the worst case scenario. The damage begins even by something that most people don't even think is a problem. To smell some lady, how is it my fault? To put on perfume because I want to smell good, how's that my fault? That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is trying to tell us. if you want to be holy, you have to start taking those things into consideration. Meaning, yes, you are allowed to smell good. But who says you have to smell so good, they could smell you 3 blocks away. And for 3 days after you left. One time we had somebody at my house. For 3 or 4 days, the house smelled like them. My wife and I were going crazy because we didn't like the smell. Now surely this person loved the smell. But this smell, literally my house, we were thinking about burning it. Because it wouldn't go away. Sometimes people, they say, listen, what? I'm allowed to put perfume. You're allowed to put perfume. Nobody says don't put perfume. Nobody says don't. But do you have to put the whole bottle? Do you have to put the whole bottle? You're allowed to buy a car. But do you have to buy a car that makes everybody's eyes come out? The one with the doors that go up, they go down, it flies in the air. It has to be that one. You're allowed to have a nice house, but does it have to have such loud noise and music and the whole neighborhood needs to know that you're having an event? Everybody needs to know. You're allowed to have nice things, and in fact the Torah tells us a person that is not going to enjoy the food of this world will be judged for it. Now the pshat is, Hashem gave you things to enjoy. Why aren't you enjoying them? But the chidush I had is that the Chachamim tell us that every single thing that you have in this world, in order to elevate yourself, in order to be kadosh, you have to learn how to use everything in order to sanctify Hashem's name.